Liverpool are set for a massive change next season with legendary manager Jurgen Klopp leaving the club and being replaced by Arne Slot, a fantastic young manager over at Feyenoord, but it is a worrying transition and there seems to be a pattern that Dutch managers coming from the Eredivisie do not work in the Premier League. Well, today I'm here to bust that myth and use Arne Slot's tactics here at Liverpool to rebuild them for the 24-25 season, using Arne Slot tactics, realistic transfers and playing every single game to see if we can return Liverpool to Premier League glory. And when looking at this Liverpool side, there is a lot of very good players. We've got Alisson in goal, Trent at right back, Kanate and Van Dijk at centre back with Robertson at left back. I think the defence will stay the same next season, with Trent being more used as an inverted wing back on support, as does Gertrudia over at Feyenoord, and he gets into very attacking positions, and I think that will suit Trent down to a T. I'm looking for a brand new defensive midfielder. I do think Endo's been good this season, but I think someone a little bit better should be coming in. Alexis McAllister and Szoboszlai are a fantastic centre midfield partnership, but I am looking for a brand new right winger, as I think Salah will be leaving Liverpool this summer. Now, I am doing this in full realism. I don't think Salah and Van Dijk will both leave, but I do think one of them goes, and I think it's Salah. 12 months left on his contract. Wanted by Saudi. I just think it makes sense that this is the summer he goes after having that fantastic career with obviously Klopp in charge. He brought him in. He's been unbelievable. I think now's the time that he says, you know what, Liverpool, thank you very much. I'm going to go. I think for Liverpool as well, potentially getting £100 million for a 31-year-old off to Saudi. I think that's sort of what's being touted in real life and what you probably get on FM as well. I just think it makes sense. I think it's the best for both parties for that to happen. So I am going to be selling Mo Salah from Liverpool. Left wing, we're happy with Luis Diaz, a fantastic young left winger. And Darwin Núñez, I think, is going to stay as our star striker as well. In terms of backups, Kelleher is staying at the club. Conor Bradley and Gerald Quansah also both staying as strong rotation options. Looking for a brand new centre-back and a brand new backup left-back. But the rest is pretty much fine. Endo, Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott as our midfield backups, I think is great. And a lot of youth in there as well. With Diogo Jota and Gakpo as our two winger options. And I'm looking for another striker, potentially to back up Núñez, potentially to replace him. But I think that's how Liverpool's summer is going to look. Now, I have gone and made a few players on the shortlist that I am potentially interested in. Number one being Michael Olise to come in on that right wing position. He's most likely going to leave Crystal Palace this summer. And I think if someone like Salah leaves, this is exactly who Liverpool go for. Eberechi Eze to potentially come in to the midfield role as well, I think is another very good signing option, but potentially not someone that's massively needed. A brand new centre-back potentially coming in as well. We're looking at Antonio Silva, a good young centre-back. In terms of a right wing-back or another centre-back option is Gertrudia. Obviously, he's played in that right wing-back role like Trent, but he can play in DM to potentially be the brand new one of them, or as a backup centre-back. Looks very good, and from Feyenoord as well. So being realistic, we might be bringing a few players in from Feyenoord, just like Santiago Jimenez, a fantastic striker from Mexico. Obviously from Feyenoord, 16 finishing has been great for Arne Slot this season. Mats Weifert is another one, a fantastic young central defensive midfielder, great on the ball, great leadership, work rate and teamwork, and he's 6'2" as well, so a nice big lad and potentially a very realistic signing going into CDM. Keep an eye out for that one. Johan Bakayoko, there has been strong rumours in the last sort of few weeks that Arne Slot is certainly looking at Bakayoko to come to the Premier League with him from PSV, a very quick, young, flary winger. Very excited if he does come. Mohamed Kudus, I think, is another one that could potentially join a bigger club like Liverpool from West Ham this season. Had a brilliant year at West Ham, but making the step up to a club at Liverpool could be good for him. Erkan Kukucu, obviously formerly of Feyenoord, moving over to Benfica, hasn't smashed it over there. Could Arne Slot look to get the best out of his former man? Also a bit of a bargain as well at £20 million. And finally, as in terms of a backup left back, potentially looking at Quinn Shelley-Hartman, 22 years of age. My only thing with him, maybe too expensive. £30 million looking at a brand new backup left back to Andy Robertson. We've only got 61 million. Obviously, we're going to get another 100 for Salah, but someone like Olise will cost us 60. Antonio Silva will cost us 40, and that's the Salah money gone already. And we've only got 60 million left to get in a new DM, which is pivotal, and a lot of other backup positions as well. So we shall see what we do in this window. Let's look for a Salah sale and some big new signings. So exactly as expected, Salah has left the club and he has gone to join Saudi side Al Ahly on £1.8 million per week. The only disappointing thing is the amount of money we got for him. We got £64 million overall. And I think it's just a case of, I think it's the most realistic thing that happens this summer. I would have liked to get pretty double that, but it is what it is. We have sold. It means that we're a little bit short in the transfer window. So I've also made one more sale, and that is Joe Gomez heading out to Barcelona for £26 million. I don't think Joe Gomez is good enough, to be honest. The fact that Barcelona have come in for him really surprises me. I think he's a decent backup option, but for £26 million, I'd even go out and get there someone that's younger and potentially better, and we've been quite busy in the window. Our number one signing is Mats Vifer from Feyenoord. I alluded to the fact that I think this is one that is potentially going to happen in real life. There's not many big DMs out there for this sort of price that I think Liverpool can get, and that knows the Arne Slot system as well as he does. He's just 24 years of age. He is a big man, consistent, likes big matches, and costs us just £24.5 million. And look forward to seeing him in this rebuild. And our centre-back option, because the sale of Salah wasn't quite as expensive as we wanted, we couldn't afford to go for Antonio Silva, and someone that Liverpool have been linked with in the last sort of 12 months is Jean-Claire Todibo. He is a French centre-back, £26.5 million, around 20 million less than Antonio Silva. So really this one, a bit disappointing. I'd like to go on stronger, a little bit better, but also he is our third choice centre-back. We have got Konate and Van Dijk staying around at the club. So Todibo comes in, and I think it's a decent someone to get in at the back line. And keeping it in France, we have also brought in Michael Elise. Interestingly enough, recently changed his nationality on FM to English. Could you do that in real life? Obviously been snubbed from the French Euro side. I'd like to see that. I certainly would. An absolutely fantastic player in real life, and on FM looks absolutely brilliant as well. £68 million, so a very, very expensive one. All of the Salah money goes straight on Elise, but 10 years younger, very good dribbling, good first touch decisions and flair. Obviously nowhere near the quality of Salah, but someone that is certainly going to come in and make a big difference on that right wing. And finally is Santiago Jimenez. We have also brought in the guy from Feyenoord, the striker that Arne Slot knows so well. £35 million is what we have spent. He's got fantastic finishing, determination, decision making, decent enough speed as well, either-footed, consistent, loves big matches. So even as a rotation option with Darwin Núñez for Champions League games, for important games in the league, the fact he has that big match mentality, he could be a massive part of this squad. And that means the squad is finished. I'm very happy with what we've created actually. Alisson in goal, Trent, Konate, Van Dijk and Robertson as the back five, Vifer in DM, Szoboszlai, McAllister, Elise, Luis Diaz and Darwin Núñez, with the backups looking very strong with Kelleher, Bradley, Kwanzaa, Todibo. Tsimikas stays in as our backup left back as we did run out of money. Endo, Curtis Jones, Harvey Elliott, Diego Jota, Gakpo and Santiago Jimenez. Keeping around a few other players as well, like Nathaniel Phillips, Van der Berg, Morton, Fabio Carvalho, throwback to Ricardo Carvalho there. But there are some players that I still got interest in them. Someone like Kelleher could be leaving the club off to Saudi. Tsimikas wanted by Newcastle, Harvey Elliott wanted by Spurs, but no, we're letting Harvey Elliott go. I think this guy is a fantastic talent on FM, is simply ridiculous. And also Van Dijk, he's wanted by 2 Saudi clubs and is unhappy at the style of Salah. I don't know if we get a big offer in what I do about Van Dijk. This price doesn't tempt me at all. It needs to cover Antonio Silva and potentially enough to get a left back in as well. So I'm looking at sort of £60 million. I'll potentially take something for Van Dijk, but that is for the future problem. We have got the start of the Premier League season coming up thick and fast. So we'll get through our friendlies. Then we have got Ipswich, Wolves, Newcastle and Bournemouth in the month of August. So let's get into this Liverpool rebuild. Well, I think Darwin Núñez has proved he's potentially going to be the starting striker. 1 minute into the Premier League season, gets a goal, gets a hat-trick overall. Szoboszlai and Van Dijk scores as well, still at the club at the start of August. And Connor Chaplin scores for Ipswich to make it a 5-1 victory. And an amazing start, 23 shots to Ipswich, just 2 and 60% possession. But for some reason, didn't save any of them goals for our away trip to Molineux, where we drew 0-0. And then we faced up against Newcastle. And well, the goals come flooding again. A first goal from Virgil van Dijk in 19 minutes. It took us all the way to the 65th minute for a splitting ball from that man Darwin Núñez to find Luis Diaz to make it 1-0. And then Núñez decided he wanted to get some goals of his own. So Diego Jota runs the line and finds Darwizzy in the middle to make it 3-0. And then Trent gets on the ball down that right-hand side. He whips the ball in, and that man Darwizzy is there again to make it 4-0 and get his brace of the game. The nice little knee slide animation coming in there as well. Dominic Szoboszlai then gets the ball on the right-hand side, finds Andy Robertson. He makes it 5-0 and an absolute demolition of Newcastle to finish off August. A smashing 5-0 victory. So overall, 10 goals scored, 1 goal conceded, 2 wins, 1 draw, 3 games in 7 points. Aston Villa have kicked this season off a 13 goal difference, 4 wins, absolutely smashing Everton 6-0, 12 points. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with for this season. But there has been some big transfer news after that game against Newcastle. And that's because Virgil van Dijk, of scoring 2 goals in 3 games, has left the club to join Al Hilal. Now, when I tell you we got £95 million for him, I think you'll accept that. A 33-year-old centre-back who is potentially a Liverpool legend, but similar to Salah, is he going to leave at the end of the Klopp reign? I wasn't planning on this sale, but for £95 million, running a realistic transfer sim, I think this would be accepted. So it's time to bring in his replacement, which is, of course, Antonio Silva for £43 million. A 20-year-old Portuguese centre-back who could come in and be the Liverpool captain and centre-back for the next 12, 15 years. He is that young. He could be that guy. He's extremely consistent. He's absolutely fantastic. You all know who Antonio Silva is. And I'm excited to see what he can do in this Liverpool side, being as a progressive ball-playing centre-back. Can he replace Van Dijk's goals? Because so far, that's what we're going to miss most. And that is the only signing I actually ended up making. It was deadline day that deal went through for Van Dijk. £95 million. Let me know, Liverpool fans, would you accept that down below? Obviously, throughout this season as well, we are using 3 different tactics. We have the basic Arne Slot one, the attacking Arne Slot tactic, and the more defensive Arne Slot tactic as well. And all these tactics are available over on Patreon based on the link down below, as is the save file. And you want to get your hands on this Liverpool simulation and these Arne Slot tactics. They are fantastic, and you can join over the other 150 members over on Patreon, helping support me, potentially one day make this a dream come true and be in full-time content creation. So head down to that Patreon link down below. We have got a busy couple of months up next though. We're going to kick off our Champions League campaign. The season's going to get into full swing, so let's get in to the end of October. How about starting the 1-1 draw? Another drop points away from home. Darwin Núñez scoring, but a 92nd minute goal from Justin Kluivert has snatched 2 points away from us. We bounced back, luckily, with a 2-0 victory over West Ham, before finally getting our first victory away from home, and it come at Selhurst Park. Some amazing link-up play there. Elise to Szoboszlai to Darwin to Szoboszlai to make it 1-0, and Conor Bradley in that inverted wing-back role has been fantastic so far as a backup to Trent. A great finish from Robertson and a fantastic 2-0 victory, and luckily some points on the board in an away game. Finally, let's go. And we finished off the month of September with a 2-1 victory over Brighton. Goals from Diego Jota, Antonio Silva, and a goal for Van Hecke for Brighton. But what surprised me most, and why I brought you back the month earlier than I thought I was going to, is Aston Villa. They are an absolute force. 6 wins, 1 draw, unbeaten still, 18 goal difference, and 19 points. I was thinking we were battling with Arsenal, City. I thought Aston Villa might fall off. Not at all. They have been absolutely fantastic. And in the transfer window, I don't know how busy they were. Not that busy at all. They've just sort of kept their players and brought in Dennis Undav, who, by the way, if you don't know, had a fantastic season over at Stuttgart. A fantastic loan deal for them, to be honest, and could potentially win them a Premier League. I've got no idea what's happening. We did also have the first round of the Carabao Cup. We will see enter in the third, and we won 9-1 away against Salford. A fully rotated side, a brace from Harvey Elliott, a brace from Curtis Jones, a brace from Michael Elise, a goal from Endo, a goal from Jimenez, and a goal from McAllister. And we kicked off our Champions League campaign, facing up against Monaco to kick things off away from home. A great ball there from Jimenez to find Dominic Szoboszlai, who is really loving that centre mid on attack role. McAllister with a penalty spot goal to make it 2, and a scream from Gakpo making it 3-0. And then dispatching Bayer Leverkusen 2-0 thanks to a brace from Darwin Núñez. We then drew 1-1 away from home at the Nou Camp thanks to an 83rd minute penalty from Santiago Jimenez before drawing 0-0 to Copenhagen. It seems like away from home against these smaller sides, we are struggling to get the victories done. But we did beat City 1-0 in the Champions League thanks to a goal again from Cody Gakpo after some lovely build-up play. But back into the Premier League where we were trying to topple Aston Villa of all sides. A good 2-1 victory away from home against Forest. Followed up by the arrival of one of our star signings in the summer. That man, Michael Elise, turned up in this game, grabbed his first goal in just 60 minutes and got his second after kicking things off with the free kick. It bounces out to him on the edge of the box, brings it down, and a fantastic strike. And 2-0 at home against Brentford. And good to see Elise finally getting in amongst the goals. And that was followed up by a very decent 1-1 draw away from home against Chelsea. Nicholas Jackson scoring in the 74th. Cody Gakpo must have hoofed it from kickoff and made it 1-0 in the 75th. But I'm not so happy with this draw. Home to Spurs, and I'd normally be not too unhappy with that. But the fact they got a red card in the 19th minute thanks to Pedro Porro feels like a massive kick in the googlies, especially thanks to a goal from the 91st minute Darwin Núñez, just about scraping us a point. We were all over them this season, but getting that second goal seemed nearly impossible. Luckily, we just managed to do it and scraped the point through. We, of course, bounced back and battered Leeds, though, 3-0, thanks to goals from Luis Diaz, Robertson and McAllister. But up next was Manchester City in the league, and they had emerged now as our title contenders, as Aston Villa had fallen off a little bit. And well, this was actually away from home, and I was expecting a very, very difficult game. Tsimikas whipped it in, and the starting striker Santiago Jimenez made it 1-0 in just 7 minutes. But it took all the way to the second half for Manchester City to apply their dominance. A goal for Bernardo Silva making things 1-1, and quickly City returned with a second. Just 2 minutes later, Calvin Phillips finds Manuel Akanji, who scores a screamer. Minutes later, Alisson goes off injured. Man City get a penalty, and City win the game 3-1, which means the Premier League title is looking a hell of a lot closer than I'd like it to be. Especially now that Alisson is injured and will be for another 2 to 4 weeks, and that was 2 weeks ago. And it meant we had to play Aston Villa, the team that I, was very worried about at the start, without our starting goalkeeper. Well, I think Aston Villa might need a good goalkeeper after that one, as McAllister makes it 1-0 in 23 minutes. And we're actually surprisingly okay in this one. A great ball from Elise to find Trent in that inverted wing-back role, where he is slowly developing into a very good player in that position to make it 2-0 and grab us a 2-0 victory. You can see Trent massively suits this inverted wing-back position with his great passing, first touch, and technique. We know Trent has got this sort of ability to do this in real life. It's going to be very interesting to see what Arne Slot does with Trent. Does he either potentially moving him to the 6 role on his own instead of signing someone like Mats Vifer, and they bring in Connor Bradley, as you know, Slot does like to bring through the youth. I think that could also potentially happens. But that is the end of November, and we are sitting second in the Premier League to Manchester City. They're a point ahead thanks to that victory over us, and we are pretty much clear of everyone else now by 3 points. And Aston Villa, well, they have had a massive fall off. Like I said, 23 points. They had an awful spell there. Forest and Brentford even ahead of them, and my club United down in 13th. Yeah, not going great for us. Up the United. In the Champions League, we are sitting in 4th. Fenerbahce at the top of it. Galatasaray in 2nd. It's the Turkish takeover, it seems, in the Champions League, but we are looking like we're going to qualify for the top 8. Obviously, still in the Carabao Cup as well. So things are actually going quite well, and quite a smooth transition from Klopp to Arne Slot. And that was backed up by 2 very convincing victories. First of all, a 3-0 against Leicester, and a 4-0 demolition of Fulham. But what was interesting is up next, we were facing up against Feyenoord, who still had Arne Slot in charge. So it's going to be Slot tactic versus Slot tactic. But I suppose the big difference is we have taken a couple of their absolute superstars, Santiago Jimenez and Mats Vifer, and Luis Diaz. You can't defend that. An absolute screamer in the first half. But Feyenoord are going to bounce back thanks to a backstick header from Dalinga to make things 1-1 from the header at the back post. But 2-1 is going to come up thick and fast. A great ball, and Santiago Jimenez finds another fantastic pass into Diego Jota. This system is working so well with the deep line forward. We are linking up play so much nicer. A great goal there from Kanate, and you can see again Jimenez finding the ball out wide to Luis Diaz, and 4-1 from Harvey Elliott. Well, 4-1 seems to be a score that has happened back to back. sadly, this time, it's not for us. It's for Arsenal, who have absolutely destroyed us. And we also faced them in the Carabao Cup. And in the 4th minute, Dominic Szoboszlai had a chance from the spot, saved by Hein. But Arsenal weren't going to pass down this opportunity, so Gabriel Jesus scored in the 38th minute, and they have won the Carabao Cup quarter-final, and we are knocked out, which is absolutely gutting because this is a trophy I wanted to win. Obviously, Liverpool won it last season. Maybe this season it's an omen of the fact we're onto bigger and better things, but sadly knocked out of our first competition. And I mean, after that battering by Arsenal and the loss in the Carabao Cup, it was a little bit ropey going into the end of December. A tight 1-0 victory over rivals Everton, and a 0-0 draw against Manchester United. 2 massive rivalry games have just got battered by Arsenal. I was looking for a massive response, and in fact, it was actually 2 very cagey games and just about coming away with 4 points. Luckily, we did finish off the month of December with a battering of Wolves 4-1, thanks to goals from Mats Pfeiffer, Todibo, McAllister and Szoboszlai. An own goal from Conor Bradley does not fuss me at all, as in this game we did get that bounce back. 33 shots to their 3 with 73% possession, complete and utter domination. And this was of course the start of the January transfer window, and what I'll say is absolutely nothing happened for the whole month. No big outgoings, no incomings. We kept it very, very short and sweet. And this month, actually, I'm not even going to show you any of the games actually in depth. It was a month where we pretty much played fairly easy games all month. Ipswich 1-0, Sheffield United in the Cup we won 3-2, West Ham a 3-0 victory, a 0-0 draw away from Newcastle was the only big-ish team we ended up playing. We beat Bournemouth 5-1, battered Girona 6-1, battered Galatasaray 4-1, and a big Blackburn 2-0 in the FA Cup as well. So a very quick fire month of January, but it does leave things looking very good. We are still within touching distance of Manchester City. We are challenging them like Klopp done the whole time he was there, just a point away. Clear of Arsenal by 8. It looks like it's a 2-horse race with Brentford coming in 4th. Champions League, we finished top of the pops, 20 points, 6 wins and 2 draws. And obviously the FA Cup, we've got Oxford up next, so an exciting run-in for the end of this season. We really could do a treble this year. There is a chance, and I will say as well, it's all by using quite a fun, different tactic. The inverted wing-backs, the complete forwards. I'm really enjoying this tactic from Arne Slot, and genuinely, obviously, as a United fan, I don't want to see Liverpool do too well in real life, but seeing this happen in the Premier League and this style of play could be quite nice and very interesting as well. It looks like Liverpool might have found themselves an absolute gem, but without that, let's stop blowing smoke at Liverpool because, I don't like it very much. But let's get into things. The run-in for February and March in one. And well, after a very fun month, smashing teams left, right and centre of January, we decided at that form we were going to carry on for the month of February as well, beating Palace 4-0. Brighton away from home 2-0, and Nottingham Forest 2-0 as well. But up next was the surprise package of the 24-25 season, Brentford away from home. Were they going to be able to cause us any problems? Well, it was going to start off with a Luis Diaz goal in 14 minutes, and we got off to a great start because just 30 seconds later, Darwin Núñez links things up and finds a great ball through to Dominic Szoboszlai to make it 2-0. And in fact, Brentford were not a competition for us at all. A third from Michael Olise. We also ended up beating Chelsea 3-1 thanks to a goal from Ibrahim Konate, an own goal from Badiashile, and a 98th minute goal from Antonio Silva. All 3 goals scored by centre-backs. And then lost to Spurs thanks to a 92nd minute Ollie Skip goal. And then faced City in what really was a must-win game. So McAllister got us off to a great start of a penalty in 17 minutes. But City bounced back thanks to a goal from Erling Haaland. And that was it, a 1-1 draw. And this Premier League title was so tight. We are 4 points clear of Manchester City as things stand, but they've got a game in hand. So it's probably going to be 1 point and 7 games to go. But it is in our hands. And if we carry on winning all the games for the rest of the season, we win the Premier League. But if we drop any points, we don't. But what about the FA Cup? Well, it wasn't the most convincing victory, but we did beat Oxford United 1-0. And in the quarterfinals, we were drawn up against Brighton, where Karol Matoma was back from his injury from the 23-24 season and got them 1-0 up in the 11th minute. And we did reply with a goal of our own. Dominic Szoboszlai on the edge of the box scored so many of these throughout the whole course of the season, making it 1-0. But the reason I'm mentioning Karol Matoma is in the 106th 6th minute of extra time. He drives inside from the left-hand side, makes it 2-1. And not only are we knocked out of the Carabao Cup, we are also knocked out of the FA Cup, losing here to Brighton and actually being a little bit dominated and probably deserved to lose this game. Mitoma having the game of his life with a 9.7. So we're out of both domestic competitions. We could win the Premier League, but also we're in the Champions League, and we have had the round of 16. And well, it wasn't the hardest of games either. In the first leg, we were drawn up against Athletic Bilbao and beat them 4-0 away from home. A brace from Nunez, goal from Jota, and a goal from Harvey Elliott. So at home, we played a fairly rotated side and we won 1-0 thanks to a goal from Michael Elise, who has actually been very good this season. 29 starts, 15 off the bench, 8 goals and 11 assists. Now, obviously, Mohamed Salah is scoring 25 goals a season at the moment in the Premier League, but having someone like Elise who can rotate with Diogo Jota on that right wing has been so important, and he has been absolutely brilliant. I think he's made the transition from Palace to a top side very well. He's got a 7.14 average rating this season. Is now with £112 million consistent, likes big matches. I don't often buy Michael Elise. Often the rebuilds that I do, I can't really buy someone like Elise. So being able to use the talent of Elise in this rebuild has been so fun and an absolutely amazing experience. Now, in terms of competitions, we have got Manchester City in the quarterfinal of the Champions League. So it could very well be that they're going to knock us out of that and they'll beat us to the Premier League and we win absolutely nothing. So there is a lot of drama still to come, and we're already at the 1st of April, so only 2 months to go. 7 matches left in the Premier League. Let's fly in to the rest of the season. Well, lucky enough for us, our April month actually wasn't too difficult. To kick things off, we faced up against Liverpool and beat them 3-0. We needed to make sure this month was going to be a good one because we were actually at the end of the season against Arsenal, Everton, who are of course going to try and beat us at the new Goodison Park, and Manchester United. So April had to be strong and we started it well. But then we were pegged back by the early title chasers Aston Villa with a goal from Ezri Konsa. We did manage to score to make things 1-1 thanks to a goal from Todibo, but that was it, a singular point away from Aston Villa. And we know Manchester City often can go on these 10 to 15 games winning streaks at the end of the season. So was that drop point gonna be the kill of us? And well, quite frankly, that frustration, we put it all into our next game and we absolutely destroyed Leicester 7-1. 5th minute, Jota. 6th minute, Darwin Nunez. 15th, McAllister. 45th, Gakpo. 64th, McAllister. 87, Elliott. 93, Wout Fayer's own goal. An absolute demolition derby. And we finished off that Premier League running with a 1-0 victory away from home against Fulham. A 24th minute goal by Antonio Silva, and his task this season was to attempt to replace the starting goals of Virgil van Dijk, and he's come up with some very clutch ones so far. And with 3 games left in the Premier League, how was the table looking? Well, we had pulled a little bit clear. We have got 5-point gap to Manchester City with 3 games to go, but as mentioned, we've got Arsenal at home, away from home against Everton, and on the final day of the season, Manchester United. Before we get into anything in the Champions League, I think we should wrap up the Premier League. And well, first up was that game against Arsenal, and they are the team that have pushed Manchester City closest in the last couple of seasons, but we were the team which were going to put one hand on that Premier League trophy and get it away from the grasp of Manchester City, thanks to a 2-0 victory, and a fairly convincing one at that, against Arsenal. So if we could win here against Everton, we were going to be Premier League champions and crowned it at Goodison Park. So of course, that is exactly what we tried to make happen. A Cody Gakpo goal to kick things off in 24 minutes settled the nerves. And from there, well, we just made Everton absolutely crumble. Diogo Jota found Dominic Szoboszlai to find Darwin Nunez in the box to make it 2-0. Again, an all-important goal to get us a 2-goal break. Antonio Silva heads it down. Diogo Jota, it's a 3-goal break. And with 2 minutes later, Antonio Silva finds Diogo Jota again. A backstick cross, and Darwin Nunez is there for 4-0 to Liverpool. And we were crowned Premier League champions. A massive dub considering we're chasing Manchester City pretty much the whole season. We had what Man City have had in recent times and that fantastic run of form to finish off the Premier League campaign. We did face Manchester United in the final day of the season as well, and we also won that one 4-0. A goal from Dominic Szoboszlai, Elise, Santiago Jimenez and Trent in the 74th minute. So we ended up on the Premier League title, 89 points, still 5 clear of Manchester City, who won every single game in May as expected they would do. But luckily, regardless of our very difficult run-in, we also won every single game, which is absolutely massive. Now, we have not won the Carabao Cup, we have not won the FA Cup, but can we lift the Champions League as well? Well, first of all, is that double-legged affair against Manchester City in the quarter-finals. And while the first leg was kicked off by a fantastic start from Wataru Endo, who made things 1-0 and the only goal of the game away against Manchester City, we were in the driving seat for the home tie at Anfield. And things simply couldn't have got off to a better start, as that man Darwin Núñez is there again to make it 1-0 in 56 minutes, and we got a 3-goal lead on the tie from Michael Elise scoring past Ederson. And for the semi-finals, things were going to be staying in England as well, as Spurs had managed to get all the way here with Ange Postecoglou. Well, Luis Diaz made it 1-0 in 46 minutes. The first tie is at Anfield. Antonio Silva and Vifer linking up to find Dominic Szoboszlai to make it 2-0 in 67 minutes. Vifer then finds Curtis Jones on the left-hand side. He whips it in, and guess who is there? Gakpo for 3-0. And one away from home, we did lose 2-1, 4-2 on aggregate. We used it as a bit of a chance to rotate, get Curtis Jones in, Harvey Elliott a bit more game time, and a victory, nonetheless, a 4-2. But I've brought you back before we've played this game in the final, because I can't quite believe it, ladies and gentlemen, but the Champions League final is Liverpool versus FC Salzburg. Now, I've never seen a team like this in the first season get all the way to the final, but they have knocked out Real Madrid, Galatasaray, Bayern Munich, Aston Villa. In the league phase, they must have got in the bottom 18. Where are they in here? They ended up finishing in 17th. But in the knockouts, they have been simply fantastic. So we have to try and beat the underdogs, the best underdogs I've ever seen. And when I tell you what, I can see why they got all the way to the final, because other than this defensive mistake from Schlager and the goal by Alexis McAllister, we had absolutely no other chances. We were completely and utterly dominated, but we did win the Champions League final, and Salzburg pushed us right to the end. A 1-0 victory. We managed to do a double, the Champions League and the Premier League. I'm just shocked at how good this Salzburg side has been and how difficult that game was. They had more shots, they had a better XG, more on target. I don't know what's happened. Maybe Salzburg are the underdog team to look out for in real life. But overall, a very successful season. We won the Premier League. We won the Champions League. Sadly, no domestic competitions. But what I love most about, number one, the tactics we've created with Arne Slot, but number two, about this Liverpool side, is the goals being spread out. Darwin Núñez, 22. Luis Diaz, 15. Szoboszlai, 15 goals, 16 assists. McAllister, 13 and 4. Jota, 12 and 10. Gakpo, 10 and 11. Harvey Elliott, 10 and 3. Elise, 10 and 13. Our backup striker, Santiago Jimenez, maybe the Premier League was a step too far. 4 goals and 8 assists. Someone that's progressed really well out on loan to be certainly looking into next season when you pick this up on Patreon is Tyler Morton. A fantastic loan spell out at Southampton last season. 11 assists in 4 games. 8 assists from Connor Bradley as well this season. And Trent, well, actually wasn't as good as Connor Bradley. Less assists, 2 more goals. But overall, a bit of a disappointing in that right wing back role in the inverted side. But overall, I think the hire of Arne Slot works quite well for Liverpool. The tactics work very well in the Premier League on Football Manager. Let me know what you think down below. If you think these tactics will work for Liverpool next season and what signings they will make. Thank you for watching, and I'll speak to you next time.